Well, hello. How's everybody doing today? Hey, as you hop on, let me know where it is that you are watching from. Would love to give some shout outs to different places people are watching from. We're going to be doing some dream interpretation today. I hope some of you were able to see the live video that I did a couple days ago. I was doing just a little information, I guess is a better word, about Streams Academy and what we're going to be doing with that. It's some really exciting stuff that's coming up. Those of you that are really interested in dream interpretation, you might want to check it out. Actually, let me throw this up real quick just in case you're interested. In it, because one of the things that we're going to be offering on Streams Academy, our in-person here in Dallas starting in September, is an Associate of Science in Biblical Dream Interpretation. So it's going to be a great opportunity for those of you that are interested in learning some more about dream interpretation. Actually, those of you that are interested in really going deep into dream interpretation and developing that gift, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you. Take a look. There's a lot of information there. Obviously, the video that I did, we spent about 45 minutes talking about the two different diplomas that we have and why we're doing Streams Academy. So lots of information there if you're interested. So we've got people from London, from Australia, Pennsylvania, Washington, Indiana, from Finland. Welcome. Montreal, Brazil, um, Iowa, Connecticut, Cape Town. Wonderful. Well, welcome. So glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to doing some dream interpretation and seeing where we end up. And it looks like we already have a dream. Oh, we've got Italy in the house. Welcome. Glad to have you on. So let's start out with this dream. And just by the way, as we're going through, as I finish up one dream, I'll just be looking at the most current comments and grabbing one of the dreams. I know when we do these, it would be nice if we were able to just kind of keep track of who submitted their dreams first and just go through them one by one, but there's no way we're going to be able to go through all of the dreams. And I know sometimes people aren't able to stay on for the whole thing. And if we did that, maybe the person that input a dream earlier ends up missing it because it took a while before we got there. So that's why I always try to find one that's just been recently put up to make sure that the dreamer is still on the live when we're interpreting it. So we're going to start out with Angela's dream. I dreamt that I was picking green apples out of the boxes of apples and throwing them at people and then chopping up the apples to cook. Okay. Well, that took a turn that I wasn't expecting when I first saw apples. I was not expecting the throwing them at people. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what would that represent? What would that mean? The idea of apples. So green apples, I mean, you think about green apples. I know different people, like my wife likes to eat green apples, but they do tend to be more sour. So some people don't like to eat them unless they're cooked. Personally, I only eat green apples when I'm cooking them. I find them much better that way. They're what we'd usually use in like apple pie or something like that. Um, so is it about that, or is it about the fact that they're green and it's about the color green? You know, the thing about an apple is fruit. The color green, a lot, it can represent different things, can represent growth, can represent money, greed, especially in the United States. Outside of the United States, it's not as much, but we actually, one of the old terms for a US dollar is a greenback because there's green print, green ink that was on the printing. So that does not work very much when you're going to different cultures, different nations, but someone that grew up in the United States, that's one of the possibilities. But the idea of greed, envy is a green-eyed monster. So greed, envy, that kind of thing is connected to that. But also on the positive, the other thing that it can represent is the conscience. And we're talking about the different colors of the spirit and the colors of the soul. The portion of the spirit that's represented by green is actually our conscience. That part of the spirit of God within us, the nature of God within us, that gives us that sense of this is right or this is wrong, that is inherent in every human. Now, different people, you can choose to ignore your conscience, you can mute your conscience. So not everybody is affected by their conscience, though everybody has one, even if they have cauterized them and don't feel it anymore. So green, the fruit, green apple would be the fruit of the conscience. So seems like you have a very strong sense of what is right and wrong that has developed in your life, and you've used that to harm people, throwing it at people, letting them know this is right, letting them know that this is wrong. But you've also used it to help people, to nourish people, chopping them up, getting ready to cook, putting them into a presentation that would be beneficial for others. So I know it's a long way to get around, but the whole goal of this is not just to see how many dreams that we can interpret, but to give you guys some clues on dream interpretation so that you're growing in your ability to interpret as we are interpreting these dreams. So hopefully that was helpful for you, Angela. Let's see. Liang. I saw a crisis between countries, wonder who would rescue. While I wait and watch, a New Zealand prince on white horse jumped out of empty frame in front of me, hold a sword, and open contract saying he was here to sign it. Well, that is very interesting. That feels almost like something that was happening waking rather than in the sleep. And so I'm curious if that was a dream in the night or if that was a vision that you had while you were awake. Um, but either way, the interpretation comes the same way. It's just more the application and then where we would go with it. The crisis between countries, a lot of this is you're actually observing this. You're not directly related to this, so it's not directly about you. This is a call for intercession. This is a call for you to begin to pray. That there's some crisis, there's some issues that are between countries, and that there are righteous rulers that need to rise up, that need to come out of the frame, if you will, and rightly divide what's right and wrong, and go after peace. The contract, the open contract, that'd be a contract of peace that is there. So now, why a NZ, a New Zealand prince? That is the question. Why New Zealand? I don't know if you are from New Zealand or if you've been to New Zealand, if there's something specific about New Zealand for you, or if that's just a general thing and, kind of what your thoughts about New Zealand, like that might have some dynamic. This doesn't feel like Jesus. Usually a rider on a white horse, that would be one of the thoughts that would come up. But this does not feel like Jesus in this experience. So this is more about a ruler, but a white horse would talk about, somebody that's ruling in righteousness, that they're operating in righteous power that's there. So this is a way for you to pray that righteous rulers would arise, that they would come out of the frame. So he jumped out of an empty frame. So it's not obvious who they are, but that they would appear, that they would come forward. And the sword, the rightly dividing, so being able to separate the good from the evil, the right from the wrong, discerning the thoughts and the intents of the heart, the open contract, the peace. So that's where all of those pieces come from. Hopefully that is helpful for you. Alinga. Alinga, I drove your sister's black truck to mom's house that grandma used to live in. They're both dead now. Went one block and suddenly I'm on a motorcycle that had a chain that came off as I pulled up to the house. Backed up and it went back on. Okay, so sister's black truck, mom's house grandma used to live in. So there's some type of a generational issue that's being revealed. There's something that is in the generational bloodline. A lot of times grandparents will recognize, will highlight that when there is more than one generation. You've got three generations here. It's a consistent in the generation. Sometimes it's saying that it's been in every generation. Sometimes when it skips a generation, like it'll just be your grandparents and you, that doesn't always mean it skipped a generation, but those are just a couple things to be looking at as possibilities. And then you're feeling what the spirit is saying to your spirit as you're thinking about the possibilities, because the whole thing with dream interpretation, it's not just being able to know, well, this means this and this means this. If you start thinking that way, the likelihood of you being able to interpret dreams goes down significantly. Those are possibilities, but you need not just information, not just knowledge. You actually need the spiritual activity. You need the word of God, the revelation that comes from him to be able to bring that. And so we're weighing information by the Spirit, trying to discern what the Spirit is saying. That is one of the ways that you can recognize revelation. Now, obviously, we've got to be careful to be sure that the discernment is there. I'm trying to teach something that takes us time in our courses to teach, but I'm giving you the basic principles here. All right, so generational issue. The black truck, it's able to carry other things. It's help. There's more than one person can fit into a truck. But suddenly on a motorcycle, so you go from something that is community to individual, you go from something that has room for others to something that is for you, that's specific about you. So this is a dynamic. It's in your family. It's in your grandmother, it's in your mom, it's in your sister, but it is also in you. Now, here's the thing: is it doesn't say exactly what this dynamic is, but it's just saying that in you're desiring to walk in this thing, you're desiring to access this thing, to get to this thing, this generational thing. You're gonna This is the chain coming off. You're going to lose some traction. You're actually going to have to back up to be able to go forward. So the whole thing of the chain coming off, the chain is, there's power there, but the chain is what connects it to movement forward. And so that chain coming off, like there's a power, there's still power there, but it's not actually causing traction. It's not actually causing you to move forward in what's in your family. And there's some things you're going to have to back up. You're going to have to go backwards a little bit to be able to reconnect the power that's there with the ability to move forward in it. I'm kind of talking and trying to spend a little bit extra time on this because I'm asking, like, what is this thing? There's nothing in the dream that actually says what it is. Just there's generational stuff. You never actually see your grandmother. You never actually see your mom. It's just the house that they used to live in. So it was something about their life that's been passed down that your sister is active in and you're going to be active in. But when you first try it, when you're first kind of coming into it, you lose some traction and you're going to have to back up to be able to reconnect, to be able to move forward. Yeah, one of the most frustrating things for me about dreams is that dreams tell you what they tell you. They don't always tell you what you want to know. I want to know what exactly is that, but there's not enough in that dream to tell us. There's not an interaction. It's not a specific thing that you're picking up that you're doing. So it's leaving you with this general concept. And when that happens as the dreamer, what you want to do is you want to start taking a look at the other things that God is doing in your life. Because dreams are often just one part of the conversation. They're not the whole conversation. It's not like, in general, a single dream tells you everything that you need to know about a particular topic. It's usually more like a sentence or a paragraph, maybe even a chapter sometimes, when there's longer dreams, when there's a little bit more to it, but it's not the whole book. The whole book is all the things that God is doing in your life. So you're looking at the dynamics. You're looking at what's happening in, the dynamic the dream's pointing towards. So what do you know about your family? What do you know about your grandmother and your mother and what they walked in? Do you see something similar in your sister? And how does that work? Have you been stepping into a portion of that? Have you found it difficult to step into that? Like, so you start looking at those things. You also start looking at the other things that the Lord is speaking to you in your prayer time. What is he drawing your attention to in scripture? What is it that's going on? What are the circumstances that are happening in your life? What are the opportunities that you have? All of these things, they tie in to give us a bigger picture, and allow us to understand it. And so there are dreams when you are trying to interpret a dream for someone else, you're just getting like one sentence. And I don't know if you've ever done this. I know I've done this a number of times. You walk up to a couple people that are having a conversation. Maybe you see some friends, you walk over to where they're at, they're already talking. And when you walk up, you hear a sentence or you hear a phrase, and it's just like, that sounded really weird. In context, it made sense, but out of context, it's just like, I don't, what are you guys even talking about? That doesn't sound, that is the dynamic that often happens with dreams, because it's just one part of the conversation. It's not the whole conversation. The dreamer's having the whole conversation. So you, as the dreamer, when you hear a dream, especially a dream like this that has very vague interpretation, very vague meaning to it, the only way you're going to be able to dial that in is by looking at all the other things that are going on around, the other things that the Lord is speaking, to be able to get some better context, because the sentence fits within a context. When you take something completely out of context, it's so easy to twist the meaning. And so, as interpreters, when we're interpreting dreams for someone, we have to be very careful, because we have a certain context and it's often different than the context of the dreamer. And if we try to force their dream to fit into our context, we end up misinterpreting the dream. We end up causing it to change from what was intended. And it can create, I mean, sometimes you hear something when you take a single soundbite out of a conversation and it sounds really bad or really inappropriate. But when you hear it in context, it actually just kind of makes sense. But out of context, it can be. Now, sometimes it's just funny. Sometimes it's just, I don't know what to do with that. Sometimes, I mean, you think you know what it means, but then you find out it actually means something different. So all of those little pieces are part of this dynamic when it comes to dream interpretation. Okay, let's look at another one. Isaiah. So Isaiah, a friend dreamt me and her were engaged. We were in church. Pews were navy blue. Girls on the right side, boys on the left side. She told me our wedding number should be movement of God. She kept looking at her ring and our engagement pics. I had a red suit on. Okay. Well, I mean, you've got a couple different things. Um there are dreams that are dreams from God. There are dreams that are dreams of our own heart that are revealing something that's going on in our heart. And then there are dreams that are kind of the expectation of others. And so you're trying to discern in this, and knowing a little bit about your friend is probably going to help significantly. But is there a level of attraction there? Is there a curiosity or a question whether or not it should be more than friendship? Has that been a thought? Has that been something, maybe something that's been in the heart but hasn't been admitted to yet? That would cause a dream like this. That there's a, wait a second, my heart is saying I want more from this than what I'm getting right now. So it could be a soul dream. So that might be part of it. Um, there's not enough weight. And what do I mean by weight? So weighing the dream. So I'm feeling how the dream sits on my spirit when I'm hearing it. And there's a difference between how it sits on the soul and how it sits on the spirit. There's not enough weight there for me to say that God is saying you guys are going to get married. There would require a whole bunch of other things. And actually, I've seen people that have had dreams about getting married to someone and had nothing to do with a romantic relationship at all. Sometimes dreams about marriage can be saying that there is an invitation to a greater intimacy with something that that person represents. Now, especially you're wearing a red suit, and I don't know, maybe is it red suit or red tie? Like I'm seeing the shirt with the tie, so I'm not sure which that was representing. Were you wearing a red shirt? Were you wearing a red tie, or was the whole suit red? Either way, red would represent something. It represents anointing. It represents something that's on your life. It may be saying that there's an anointing, there's something that God has put on you, a gifting that you have that she's supposed to be drawn to, and that it's going to be very precious, which is why she's being drawn to look at her engagement ring as well as your red clothing, whatever piece of clothing was that was red. So those are a couple things. So it's in church. Pews were navy blue. Quick question: does she go to a church that has pews in it? If she doesn't, that's another sign that there's metaphor. So this would be talking about something spiritual. This is a spiritual environment. Navy blue represents revelation or communion. So that there's a place of revelation that is being communicated. So those are a couple things to begin to pray about and begin to talk about. Is this something that's in her soul that is being revealed? Is this a conversation? If so, have the conversation. See what the Lord brings. See what wisdom brings. Get counsel from those that are around you. If this is a spiritual thing, what gifting is it? What anointing that's on you, specifically related to what you guys are doing in church or what you're doing in church, that is going to be beneficial, that she can receive from, that she can grab hold of to have a higher commitment to. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, Noemi. I placed my hand on Pastor's shoulder and prayed that God would renew his strength like the eagle. This is really straightforward. You're called to pray for your pastor and specifically how he operates in authority, shoulder, that God would renew his strength, would refresh him like the eagle. That's a scripture out of Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah chapter 40, but it's in Isaiah where God will renew our strength as of the eagles. We'll mount up with wings as eagles. And so it's a supernatural strength, that a supernatural strength would specifically in the realm of authority. So this is a calling for you to intercede, for you to pray. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Verishua. I was serving on a ship. An unruly passenger kept hogging the Scrabble game pieces. The captain had to make an announcement, so he had to wait, but would not. I had to take the pieces away. I was annoyed. I was annoyed. So the captain had to make an announcement, so he had to wait, but would not. All right. I'm not quite sure if I'm following the movement, the activity that's going on in the dream, because with that pieces, like I can think of a couple different movements that like did the captain have to wait, or did the person trying to hog the Scrabble pieces have to wait? Um, it seems like it's the person that was the unruly passenger that was hogging the Scrabble pieces. Um, that was supposed to wait but wouldn't wait because the captain actually needed that. So you had to take the pieces away. There was an annoyance there. Um, Usually ships represent some kind of an environment. So that, it's not unusual for a ship to represent a church, especially in this kind of ship. What you're describing here, it feels like a church. You're out on the waters of the Spirit. There's a community aspect. There's a captain. Captain would represent the leaders, the leadership, possibly specifically the pastor, or just in general could be representing the captain. Scrabble is being able to put the pieces together to find the message. So it's the basic elements of revelation. And so, the whole thing of Scrabble game pieces, the letters, the pieces that are needed to be able to come together, and the captain having to make an announcement. So he needs all those pieces. So you can't be taking all of this. It seems to be saying that in the environment that you're in, there's someone that thinks that they're prophetic, that keeps on trying to hog the presentation of the words that are being given. But it's actually distracting from what the leadership is trying to do in that environment, and it's creating issues. So, I had to take the pieces away. I was annoyed that I wonder if this is your response to it, like your desire to not let this person be able to operate in revelation. Now, in your church, I don't know if you have that authority to be able to do that or not. So is this your soul responding to it? The fact that you were annoyed, this is letting you know that there's some activity of the soul that's involved in this. So it's not saying that it's right, not saying that it's okay. I mean, things like that, they are annoying, but then what's the right response? And that's the question that you then bring back to the Lord. You look at righteousness, what you know about the environment, the application of how to deal with that, that's not communicated in the dream. It's just pointing out that there's an annoyance there. So hopefully that is helpful for you and makes some sense. Let's see. UJ, I saw an ambulance with helicopters on top and steel windows, then a police car, then a fast futuristic sports car. Okay. Sometimes when there's no story, there's no plot line, those are the hardest dreams to interpret because there's nothing really to anchor on, to be able to find a story. So there's not a message. It's just saying you're just seeing stuff. So there's no message that's there. Like what's the activity? What's the action? There's nothing there. It's just saying you're seeing stuff. So an ambulance with helicopters on top, a healing ministry that's able to move into the spirit, but why steel windows? I mean, were they see through and you just knew where they steal, or were they steel and you couldn't see in? That could be a positive thing. That could be talking about protection, spiritual warfare protection. That could be a negative thing, trying to block out so that people can't actually see what's going on. Doesn't necessarily feel negative. I'm not sure. But then why a police car, and how does it connect to the ambulance or the helicopter? There's no connection in the dream, so you can't say that there's a connection. But a police car would talk about, the law, that what's right, what's wrong, enforcing what's right, what's wrong in an environment, an authority figure, a fast futuristic sports car. So something that's just moving, something that's really quick, but it's could be like a prophetic gifting. Futuristic is talking about what's coming in the future, something that's for another time, that's being revealed. But how does that all fit together? Without more of a storyline, there's not a whole bunch there. These are more just pieces. And even as I'm saying those, like I'm talking through this stuff, well, it could mean this, could mean this, but there's no, aha, that's what it means. There's no weight of revelation on it. So we have enough to get, okay, so that's interesting. That's interesting. We need to pray about that. And so this is, now you've got some pieces. You can start thinking about those things. Lord, what are you saying about this? Is this, what's the ambulance about? Am I supposed to be part of that ambulance? Is it something that I'm going to see? Is it something I'm supposed to interact with? Am I just supposed to know that it's there? Why am I supposed to know that it's there? What do you want me to do with this? All of those kinds of questions, then now you get to go back to the Lord and spend time engaging with him about this. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Call me Jamie. Hi, Jamie. I dreamt that I saw a wall of photos and it was of my mom and her sister. The largest photo was in the center and it was of my mom. Her eyes looked tired and sad. Then I woke up. So, photos, they capture memory, they capture moments. They kind of hold on to a moment in time so that we can revisit it. It feels more like the memories issue, that a wall of photos of your mom and her sister. So there's something about the history of your mom, of your sister. There's probably going to be some similarities there. The only thing there that gives us something to recognize, to look at, the center, the biggest photo, is her eyes look tired and sad. Recognizing that the history and what your mom has gone through is one of the reasons why there's that weariness and there's that sadness that's there. And whether or not, maybe you don't see this when you engage with her, or maybe she puts on a look where it's not there. And so this is a word of knowledge, or maybe this is just recognizing that the reason why that's there is because of the history, because of the memories. Um, but either way, there's a call to intercede, because again, you're not in the dream, so you're seeing these pictures of your mom and her sister, and so there's something about their past that the Lord is highlighting, is bringing up, and so there's a call for intercession. And just noticing the tired and the sad, it seems like that intercession is for healing, is for restoration, that the Lord would bring restoration, would bring healing to that sadness that is there. And it doesn't say that they both have the tiredness and sadness, unless you can remember in the dream that her sister also had that same thing. So it may just be you're recognizing that about your mom, and it's not saying that it's also about her. That's a good question. We'll have to, that'll be it's I mean, you would know that. That's what I'm trying to say. If you can remember that from the dream, if you can't remember it from the dream, don't add it into the dream, because what is being highlighted is really your mom. So there is a similarity. There's something connected with the history with her sister, but it's specifically about your mom, and that's that's the center of attention of what you're being shown. So begin to pray for your mom. Begin to pray for the Lord to restore her, to refresh her, to heal her from the things of the past, to heal that sadness that's there, and bring the joy back that she had. Okay. Tuesday Simons. I saw a flower in 3 different stages of growth. Then finally, it was engraved on stone, retaining its vibrant colors and shape. So, thinking about a flower is something beautiful. Flowers can represent favor, they can represent the fragrance of the Lord, something that carries an atmosphere. Seeing it in different stages of growth, seeing that things need to be developed, that the atmosphere, the experience, it actually needs to be developed over time, but the intention of what God has been growing. So, what you're seeing it, um, and this is not in the dream, but I feel like this is what the Lord's saying, that it's about something that the Lord has developed in you, that there's a spiritual fragrance that the Lord is developing in you, and there's a process of growth that it's going to go through, but it's not going to be like a normal flower that just goes and then fades away. It's actually going to get engraved in stone, and it's going to remain. So what God has been cultivating and developing in you, that you've been seeing these different stages of growth of the presence of the Lord, of something of the fragrance of the Lord that's been coming into your life. It's not just going to fade away in another season. This is something that the Lord has intended to etch in stone so that it remains forever. That is encouraging. That is really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Oh, Tucker, me in water like air, cylinder with sludge in hand. Asked girl if she's going to clean, and she said no. I start to wipe, dirt float away in water, air, revealing cleaned relic with many iridescent rainbow inlays. So water like air. Um, Water like air just me sounds like a spiritual environment, because one of the things that I've experienced, and I've talked to others that have experienced this in heavenly places. Sometimes the air feels thick, almost viscous, almost like I want to say honey, but it's not sticky necessarily like honey, but it has substance like water does, but it's thicker. Yeah, water like air sounds like a good way of describing that. Anyway, so this sounds to me like a spiritual environment that you're there. Um, but there's something that's been discovered that is dirty. It's grimy. It's actually been defiled. And you've looked for other people to clean it up, and they did not, they didn't have the desire. They just said no. So whether or not they didn't have the desire, they didn't have the capacity or whatever, it doesn't say why. Just you look to others and they didn't clean it up. And so you are actually called to clean it up, because what's there is actually something that's really precious. It's just hidden underneath the dirt, the slime of what's come into it uh, already. And so when it gets cleaned up, it's going to reveal something precious and beautiful. So like a relic, it's that's something that it represents something. It feels historic, but it feels valuable. Like that idea of a relic, like this is what's left over, that's power, that's important, that represents something, that signifies something. That's what we're talking about. So in your spiritual walk, in your spiritual environment, you've discovered something and you realize the dirt of it, and you're called to clean it up so that the beauty that's actually there can be discovered, because it's not noticeable until it gets cleaned. It's not recognizable until it gets clean. Okay, let's see. KK, I keep having a recurring dream of me asking for my schedule in different scenarios. I was in a stadium and I knew I was supposed to host NBA All-Star Weekend, and I kept asking for my schedule. So when am I supposed to do what? That's the question. When am I supposed to do what? What this dream, because it's a recurring dream, you know that you're called to something, but you don't know where it fits and how to do it. And that recognition of like, am I going to miss something? That feeling of I need to know when I'm supposed to do this. So this is a recurring dream. It's what we call a self-conditioned dream. It's letting you know what's going on in your life. So begin asking the Lord to not let you miss the invitations, and then start paying attention. Do you feel like you're behind? Do you feel like you're missing something? This could be true, that there's some things that you're going to need to recognize so that you don't miss them, that you actually need something to tell you what the schedule is, or it actually could just be your soul saying that you've missed something and you actually haven't. So you want to pay attention to what's the feeling that you have when you wake up, because this is the major clue that'll let you know which one of these is. If it is the Spirit and God is inviting you to recognize, there'll be what's the word I'm looking for? Well, you may wake up and it doesn't have that emotional weight of, oh no, I don't know. Like that feeling of, oh no, I don't know. Like, what am I going to do? That desperation that is, um, it comes out of a poverty mindset. And I don't mean about finances. I mean, there's something that I don't have and I don't have the ability to get it. Like that's a poverty mentality. I don't have what I need and I don't have the ability to get it. If that's the feeling, that's not from the Lord. And so now you know how to fight. You begin to, well, what's the mindset? How do you change the way that you're thinking? Because we're transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so recognizing that's there. Is there an issue that the Lord wants to heal in your heart so that that's not there? Um, or is this the Lord saying that He's got really important things for you and you need to recognize the timing so you don't miss it? It could be just that urgency, and that won't feel like that despair feeling. It will more feel like I need to take this seriously. Okay, yeah, I need to know. And so that's the question that I have, because the dreams, they all seem to end with this cliffhanger of I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It feels more like a soul thing to me. But I wonder if there's a little bit of a mix. I wonder if your soul is feeling that, but there's also reality that you have something important to do, and the Lord doesn't want you to miss the timing of it. But here's the thing, if it's the Lord, He will help you know the timing if you truly seek Him. And so your part is not to get it all figured out. Your part is to make sure that you're going to Dad and you're, Lord, I don't know what I don't have. If you don't show me, I can't do this. So I'm trusting you to show me. If you give me the timing, if you tell me when I'm supposed to be where, I will be there. And that heart to obey, when you have that heart to obey, you can hold on to the promise of Luke chapter 11 verses 11 through 13. The Lord will never give you something and make it so that you can't get to it. He doesn't withhold to tease. He will require us to put forth activity. He will cause us to need to mature, yes, but He's not going to hold back something that's essential and then blame us because we don't have something from Him. Luke chapter 11 verses 11 through 13 is the father and the son. You know, if your son asks for an egg, are you going to give him a stone? If he asks for a fish, are you going to give him a serpent? Like, you're going to give good gifts. How much more will your heavenly Father give the Spirit to those that are asking? And so our heart is to do His will. And we put ourselves in that place. And we may not have what we need before we get there. But if that is our heart, we will always have what we need when we need it. Because He is faithful and He is good. And if there's something in our heart that sees Him in any other way, or sees us not as the children that receive, but as those that don't receive, then that is most likely our heart's condemning us, and we can deal with that mindset so that we can come into reality. Now, KK, I don't know how much of that. I think there's pieces there that really are for you, but I do believe that there's a lot of what I just said that's for a lot of people that are watching. God is not going to put you in a place where He gives you enough that you realize that you need something and then not finish it, as long as you are genuinely pursuing Him. If you will go after the Lord, genuinely pursuing Him, He will always make sure that you have what you need. You may not always get what you want, but you'll always have what you need. And this is the goodness of our Father. He will not give us an assignment and then leave us to our own resources to fulfill it. If he gives us an assignment, he's going to fulfill it in us. So many good things. Those of you that weren't on when we started, I mentioned when we started this, the Streams Academy that we have that's coming up. I'm going to put something else up real quick, just let you know about this. Streams Academy is our prophetic and revelatory studies. We're doing Streams Academy as a Bible school right here in DFW. That's the picture that you'll look for, streamstraining.com. If you visit that URL, you'll be able to get all the information. But one of the degrees, we've got two diplomas that we're offering. One is an Associate of Science in Prophetic and Revelatory Studies. And the second one is an Associate of Science in Biblical Dream Interpretation. And if you want to get equipped and you want to really go deep and learn in a community environment where you have people that are mentoring you, it's not just getting information. We have all of this information. Those of you that can't come in person, you can take these courses online. There's availability, but the mentoring piece, the community piece, where we're doing prophetic activities, where we're interpreting dreams together and giving feedback, where we're really sowing into the people that come, that's going to happen in person. And I want to make sure that you know that you are invited to join us. We would love to have you guys come, be a part of Streams Academy. It's starting in September, but applications are available right now. We have opened up applications so you can get on, you can put in an application, and we would love to see who the Lord is going to bring and who we can sow into. But if you're interested in dream interpretation, this is going to be a great opportunity. It's like a language immersion program where you get to go someplace and just get completely immersed, being with other dream interpreters, talking about dreams on a regular basis, working together, growing together, and getting interactions with others that have gone ahead. I'm going to be there. My friend Daniel Burton, who's helped me with dream interpretation, is going to be here. We've got a whole community here, and many of them trained in dream interpretation. There's going to be lots of opportunities for you to grow and mature. And hopefully, as we do that, we're going to have more and more capacity to interpret more and more dreams, because we've had so many dreams that you guys have put on here as comments, and we have not been able to get to just a tiny portion of these dreams. And we want to raise up an army of interpreters so that we can make it a lot more common, where there is helpful dream interpretation that is based off of the Spirit of God, the biblical model that recognizes that is the revelation that comes from Holy Spirit that gives true dream interpretation, but also that there is a path of growth in skill so that we can develop an excellent spirit like Daniel had to be able to interpret riddles and enigmas and interpret dreams. And that's what we want to develop. That's what we're pressing into here. So would love for you guys to come and join us. And if you haven't heard about already, we have coming up in April and May, we're going to be doing a couple conferences on prophetic reformation. So we have Prophetic Reformation Reset, which is me and Daniel Burton are going to be speaking, Source, Prophetic Reformation Source. Me and Daniel Burton are going to be speaking about prophetic reformation, anchoring prophetic ministry in the person and the nature of Jesus Christ, and really bringing about some wisdom, things that we've learned in decades of ministry, things that we've had handed down, lessons that we've learned from John Paul, but also from the Desert Fathers and 2,000 years of prophetic history in the church that will be helpful for the reformation that God has called for in this hour. Because the way that prophetic ministry often gets talked about and thought about in the church at large is not the pattern that was intended from the beginning. So we want to talk about that, and we want to to be a part of one of the many voices that are crying out for this reformation, for there to be integrity, for there to be character, for there to be maturity, for there to be health in the prophetic, so that it can be a blessing to the church and to the world that it was meant to be. So we're going to be pressing into that. Our friend Josh Young, who is was one of John Paul's worship leaders when we were up in New England, a close friend of ours. He's coming to help us with worship with Manda Lamson and the Streams team that's here. And then in May, we're getting together with Ken Fish. Some of you are familiar with him, an astounding teacher. He has so many resources. He's one of the more brilliant people that I personally know. The guy ended up with 2 or 3 brains, which I wish I had some of the information and the knowledge that he has. But it's going to be a lot of fun when he comes in May. So would love for you guys to join us. And if you can't be here in person, those are both going to be live streamed, and you can join us from wherever you're at. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Glad we were able to get to a few of these dreams. And I'm sorry for those of you that put in dreams we haven't been able to get to. We're going to be doing this again. We do this on a regular basis. Here in a couple weeks, Sherry's going to be back, and she's going to be doing our Live at 5 prayer, where she's going to be praying for your prayer requests. So if you have not already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you get notifications whenever we go live or whenever we put in new resources, because we're putting in content on a regular basis. And it's all to help you to grow in your relationship with the Lord, help you to hear God better, and develop your understanding of dreams and visions. So bless you guys. Have an astounding day, and we will see you next time around. Take care.